I remember a time when I was broke. I'm talking about flat broke. See, whenever I was growing up, I didn't come from a family that had a bunch of resources and money or knowledge about finances. And as I got into my early 20s, that kind of carried along with me because, see, at that point in time, I was more concerned about going out, having a good time, and not really too focused on my future. I had a kid at a very early age. And one day I just woke up and I said, something's got to change. My life has to change because I have a family now that I have to support. And I have to figure out, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make sure that my family could have a better life than I did whenever I was growing up? Now, that's not to say that I had a terrible childhood, right? Because I did have a lot of good times as a kid growing up. I used to always tell everyone we had family. Right? Family was extremely important to me at that point in time. So we had a lot of love in our family, but not a lot of money. So what I wanted to do for my family and for myself was to be able to give them the things that I never had. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over some of the things that I changed throughout my life that helped me get on track financially, that if you implement them as well, I have no doubt that you'll be able to be successful. Now, the very first thing that I had to do is I had to stop blaming other people for my problems. Now, I follow somebody here on YouTube, and I'm not going to say his name right now, but he often talks about people running in the Victim Olympics. And I actually love that saying because I was running in the Victim Olympics. I had a gold medal in the Victim Olympics. And everything that was going on at that point in my life was somebody else's fault. I didn't have a good job. It wasn't my fault. I didn't have very much money. It wasn't my fault. And it wasn't until I actually sat down and really thought about what I wanted out of life. And then I really just determined, like, hey, if you want these things, you have to take the actions to go and actually get them done. So the very first thing that you have to do to get yourself together, and this doesn't even always have to be from a financial perspective, is you have to stop blaming others for your issues. If you have a victim mentality, it's going to stop you from being able to do anything in the future. Now, right after I stopped running in the Victim Olympics, the very next thing that I did is I just quit spending money. I had a problem with spending money. I wanted to go out. I wanted to buy cars. I wanted to buy clothes. I wanted to take little mini trips. I was just spending money that I didn't have on things that I didn't need to impress people that I didn't even like. And every single month I was operating in the red. I was using credit cards to sustain my lifestyle. And the job that I was working at wasn't paying me much money. So I was kind of messing things up on both ends of the spectrum. So when I finally sat down and was like, I really got to get myself together, I stopped spending money. And that was one of the best things that I did because not only did I stop putting things on my credit card to pay for things that I didn't need, it gave me an opportunity to sit back and reflect on the things that I actually needed to take care of to start getting ahead. See, a lot of us don't even think about what we're doing, right? We want to live in the moment at that particular time. We want to have fun now, and we hope that later on that things just fall into place. And oftentimes it doesn't. And we just continue to spiral out of control. And then we fall back into the very first thing that I talked about, and we start blaming others for our shortfalls. After I stopped recklessly spending money on things that I didn't need, I actually started to budget. I remember sitting down the very first time that I was putting a budget together. I really didn't know what I was doing. And I just started to just write out all of the things that I had to pay. And at that point in time, that's when I really started to realize how much trouble I was in. I mean, I had student loan debt that I had to pay. I had credit card debts that I had to pay. I had my car payment that I had to pay. I mean, things were looking bad for me at that point in time. But I had to quickly realize that this was the first step of the things that I needed to do in order to make sure that I could live the type of lifestyle that I always wanted to live. I knew it wasn't gonna be easy and it was gonna take time, but I was ready to do that because I was so sick and tired of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I mean, I think that's the definition of insanity, right? The very first budget that I put into place, I didn't know what I was doing, but I took an action. I started to track things. I started to figure out how much money was coming in versus how much was going out. I really didn't have a defined plan at this point. It was just, let's just start tracking and keeping account of the things that we're spending to make sure that we can stay out of the red every single month. And that's what I would recommend for you to do too, right? You don't have to have some perfectly defined budget. I often talk about, 75, 15, 10 budgets. I often talk about zero-based budgeting. Whatever works for you, it doesn't have to be perfect straight out of the gate. Actually figuring out what's coming in versus what's going out is the main thing that you want to do at this point in time. And once you get that ironed out, then you can start figuring out, okay, let's get in there and take a look at this from a micro level to make sure that we get this done. It's very important that you simply just get started. Once I got my budget in place, I started to look at things from an education perspective. At this point in time, I had my undergraduate degree in business. I had my first big boy job where I was starting to make a little bit of money. It wasn't a lot, but at this point I was making more money than I ever had at any point in my life. And I think I was probably making around $40,000 at this point. So I started to think, like, what's the next step? What do I need to do to make sure that I can continue to level up? So after working at this company for a few years, they had an education assistance program. So I started to take a look at that, and then I realized that I could actually go and get my master's degree and the company would pay for it. Now, of course, there were some requirements and stipulations that were in play, but I took advantage of that and I was able to go get my master's degree in business, and it only cost me a few $1,000s. I mean, I don't know if companies out there nowadays are paying 100% tuition for their employees, but if that's an option or an opportunity for you, take advantage of that. Right? Now, you may have to stay at that company for 1 or 2 years in order to satisfy the requirements for them paying for your tuition to get your degree, but in my opinion, it's worth it. If you can get a degree and you don't have to pay for it, or you only have to pay a little amount for it, it's worth it. These are perks that companies offer that you should be taking advantage of. And in addition to that, you should be taking a look at all the perks that your company has to offer and taking advantage of any of them that make sense for you. This is kind of like the 401k, right? It's free benefit, and you should be taking advantage of it if it makes sense for you. Now, right around this time that I was working on my MBA, I really wanted to get locked in and focused on investing. At this point, I had no idea how to invest, but I was investing in my company-sponsored 401k. So what I decided to do is I reached out to the company that managed the 401k at that time, and I started scheduling calls with financial advisors, and I would ask them to explain to me how investing works, how investing in my 401k works, and what was passive investing versus active investing, what was a mutual fund versus an index fund. And I had them explain this out to me. And then at that point, I asked them to help me to put a plan in place that would get me to a particular number that I wanted to be at in my 401k retirement fund. Again, this is another perk that is available to you that your company offers that is often no cost to you. And if you're new to investing, or you're new to investing in a retirement account, you should absolutely be taking advantage of this, because this is an opportunity for you to set the foundation for your financial future. And you should not leave that in anybody else's hands, because, for example, when you sign up with a company, they'll oftentimes put you in their kind of standard 401k offering, and most people have no idea what they're investing in. They know that the money is coming out of their paycheck every single month, but they don't know what it's being invested in. See, that needs to change. You have to actually start taking control of your financial future. And that first step is setting up a call with the financial advisor from your 401k representative and actually walking through what you're investing in, what your investment options are, and more importantly, you provide them with the details to ensure that whatever plan is put in place, it works specifically for you. The next thing that I focused on was staying out of debt. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I've talked a lot about being in credit card debt in my 20s. And I also talked about getting in and out of cars every 18 to 24 months around that time frame. Now, buying cars is something that I've continued to do up until about 4 years ago. The car that I have now, I've been driving it for 4 years. It's paid off. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that every now and then I would window shop online and maybe think about getting a different car. I haven't done it yet. I may or may not, but who knows? But one of the things that I always tried to do, and I made sure that I did, was every car that I got, I made sure that it did not account for more than 8 to 10% of my monthly take-home pay. Why? Because I knew that was a number that I was comfortable enough paying every single month, and it wouldn't impact anything else that I had to do to continue to build wealth and actually enjoy my life. Now, one of the things that I never did is I never put myself back into credit card debt after I got out of it. I never got into this buy now, pay later, this Klarna, this Afterpay, all this other stuff that's now available to people to buy things that they don't even need and that they can't afford. That's one of the most dangerous things going on right now from my perspective. As we've surpassed $1 trillion of credit card debt in the US, I don't see that slowing down, and to me that's a problem. If there is one thing to take away from this video, stay away from the credit card debt, the Afterpay, the Klarna, the buy now, pay later. Just stay away from all that. The next thing that I made sure that I continued to focus on throughout this entire journey was continuing to educate myself. See, most of us don't pick up a book after we graduate from high school or college for the rest of our life. Now, we may pick up a few things that we read every now and then, but it's really just for fun. It's not really for learning or to continue to investing in yourself and learning new skills and new knowledge. I have a subscription with Audible, and I try to at least go through one book every single month. Now, that may be a lot to some people and that may not be a lot for others, but I try to make sure that I at least get one book in every single month to make sure that I continue to just learn things. There's always something new that's coming out, and I want to make sure that I'm staying in the know on what's going on, right? So if there's a book about AI, I want to read it or listen to it. If there anything that's out there that's going on, especially from like an investment perspective, I want to make sure that I'm in the know, because if there are things happening, things changing in the landscape, I want to know about it so I can quickly adapt. I typically give a couple of book recommendations whenever I talk about some of the types of books that I like to listen to on Audible. So that would be How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it would be the Magic Quadrant. The next thing that I made sure that I did throughout this process was learn new skills. So right now I do have my real estate license. So I'm a licensed real estate agent, although I don't actively work in that field right now. But at one point in time, I was actually out there trying to build a real estate business. Now, my 9-to-5 kind of got in the way of that, and building a real estate business is hard. It takes a lot of time, effort, energy, and dedication, and at that point in time, I just didn't have that to give. But I'm still licensed. I still dabble in it a little bit. The main reasons that I got my real estate license was, one, learn the new city that I moved to, and two, I wanted to understand what the lay of the land was here, so whenever I'm ready to invest in real estate, I kind of know what to expect. It's helped me to do that, although prices in this area have skyrocketed tremendously since I moved here, but I still have my eye in that space, and that is definitely something that I plan to get into in the near future. The very next thing that I always try to do is to take risk, right? And we're not talking about gambling here. We're talking about taking calculated risk. And one of the risks that I took over the past few years was I flipped a condo down in the Atlanta area with one of my friends. So that was a calculated risk, right? He knew the area. He had the contractors. We both had the knowledge and the desire to actually make some money by doing this flip. The whole process from acquiring the property to actually flipping it took us about 4 months. We went in, demoed the property, did a bunch of renovations, got it on the market, were able to get it sold, and we made some money by doing that. But the theme behind that is not being afraid to take calculated risks. There are going to be times where you're going to take that risk and it may not work out for you. But as long as you take that risk and you've done your due diligence, you've done the research, you understand what you're getting into, I think that's something that we should all do. All right, guys, those are just some of the things that I've done over the past 10 to 15 years to make sure that I not only get myself on track financially, but actually start to really get ahead. If you are ready to get ahead financially, or you're looking to get ahead from a career perspective, check down in the description below book a one-on-one session with me, and we'll work together to get a plan in place that works specifically for you. I'm going to be providing a discount on my coaching program for the next 2 weeks. If you're interested in getting a good financial plan in place, or you're looking for some career coaching advice, make sure you click the link down in the description below, get on the schedule, and let's get a custom plan in place specifically for you.